Welcome to Wizards Institute, the #1 community to learn smart investing and financial independence.
Our guests today are Logan Freeman, Willie Smith, and Brian Leonard. Brian, Logan, and Willie are star athletes that made it to the big time, the NFL. Brian played for the Saints, Buccanners, Bengals, and the Rams. Logan played for the Raiders and Willie for the Browns and Dolphins. After their NFL careers, all three have moved into business and all chose to invest and manage multifamily apartment buildings. There's a lot of types of business careers possible and even various types of real estate investing. Why did these superstars all dive into this asset class? Furthermore, how have they been able to leverage their sports careers and training to become successful businessmen and investors? Today, we'll hear their recommendations for athletes and non-athletes alike on how to be successful in business and investing.
Great. Good evening, everyone. This is San. I'm one of the hosts of Wizards Institute, and today I'm super excited to have Willie Smith, Brian Leonard, and Logan Freeman, three superstars, ex-NFL retirees that have coincidentally, I don't know too many athletes, but coincidentally have all turned to real estate, and in particular, an asset class that I personally love quite a bit in multifamily as well. So we're excited to really hear their story, what they've done pre-business, and currently what they're doing with real estate and investing. A bit of housekeeping and background. Again, this session will be recorded. We'll go for maybe 45 minutes, just asking questions with the guest. Towards the end, actually throughout the session, the guests are going to type questions. Then we'll go to interactive after that. We will be making Wizards podcast for those that can't make it, as well as making this available on YouTube. Yeah, and again, we're not a YouTube channel. The primary focus of this is try to draw up quality content learnings from successful investors and business people. And later this fall, we're publishing a book. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's called The 10 Commandments of Investing. The background is quite interesting. It's over the last 10 years. My partners and I have really read hundreds of books, the Dalios, the Buffetts of the world, in the West, Kathy Shu's, Zhang Lei's out in the East. And we, if you guys remember in college, you guys all used Cliff Notes to sort of cheat on the books. So we created Cliff Notes for maybe like 50, 60 of these investors, how they invest. And as we kind of did more studying and learning, we found that actually what these investment wizards are teaching sort of come out to these 10 commandments, which is really what we're hoping to share with the group here. Sort of towards the tail end of the research, we're talking to all kinds of folks from different backgrounds. And again, I'm very excited because today we actually get to see and talk to three NFL guys that are now doing investing in real estate. So that's the background. So without much further, I'd like to just maybe ask our three guests to maybe introduce themselves. We can start with just your athletic backgrounds, the NFL backgrounds. Maybe we'll just, I see Willie right next to me. Maybe Willie can start first. Tell us about your NFL and your sports history, if you don't mind, and we'll go around the table.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Will Smith here. I played in the NFL for 5 years. I went to the Washington Redskins as an undrafted free agent and bust my tail through hard work and made the team. Was able to start 4 games as a undrafted free agent for them, and then I went to the Oakland Raiders and played a year with them. Went through another account, partially tore my tricep, so went home, injured reserve. Picked up by the Chargers in week 12 or 13. Made it through another account with the Chargers, and then went to account with the Redskins and account with the Panthers after that. So that's my
great. Yep. Well, how are those push-ups doing?
You're I retired.
Okay. All right. And Brian, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm originally from a town in upstate New York, small little town. I was good at football there, and I ended up getting a scholarship to Rutgers University. Was redshirt my first year, ended up playing 4 other years. So I was there 5 years. Had a fairly good career, and then I ended up getting drafted in the second round to the St. Louis Rams back when they're in St. Louis. Played there 2 years. Had 3 shoulder surgeries within my first 2 years there, and a new coaching staff came in. So I ended up getting traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, and then ended up playing there 4 years. And then after that, my contract was up, and my head coach from Rutgers Greg Schiano went down to Tampa. So I ended up falling to Tampa, thinking I was going to finish my career out in Tampa, be there another 3-4 years, but he ended up getting fired. And all the Rutgers guys he brought on board were fired basically too. And then I ended up finished my last year in New Orleans Saints. So got a good 8 years in. It was well worth it. 4 surgeries, but we'll do it all over again.
Great. Well, Brian, thank you for being here. You may remember you and Anthony, your partner Anthony, who I met first, were the first guest for our first event way back in New York pre-COVID. And remember, we had about 40 people show up for you and Anthony to speak about investing live. And I had brought 3 high net worth Chinese investors. And they were eager to talk to you and Anthony after the event. But I remember you and Anthony actually ended up ignoring them. And not because because you were spending time with 2 college kids that were just fascinated by your story, and you ended up just spending so much time with these kids, teaching them multifamily. I was like, I gotta get to know these guys better, because you guys are really spreading the word. So here we are again. Yeah.
That's what I'm most attracted to, and when I see young people that want to learn, I'm all about that. Obviously, we need investors to grow our company. But it's so important to teach the youth and tell people how awesome real estate is and the benefits of real estate.
Great. All right. And last, certainly not least, Logan.
Well, I am definitely the rookie in the group, because I did not make it through one camp. So we've got some veterans with Will and Brian. I was an undrafted free agent with the Oakland Raiders, and I was an offensive lineman. I was able to beat out a couple drafted guys and stick around for a while, but ultimately was cut. And at that time, I just decided to hang it up. My heart wasn't in it. And I had an opportunity to go out and try out for the 49ers. It just didn't feel right for me. So I went back to school and finished my master's degree and got started in the business world. Like Brian, I have had 3 surgeries, so I don't know how many Will has had, but I've got broken collarbones and an MCL and an ankle. So football definitely takes your toll on your body, but yeah, I'm definitely the rookie out of the group.
Certainly not on LinkedIn, Logan. I mean, we haven't met in person yet, but your star power on LinkedIn, it's incredible. The second he posted this event, there was just nonstop pinging and pinging. So
awesome. Yeah,
so it's good to have you as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Great. Okay. So you guys have these amazing athletic careers. Again, I'm very curious. Out of obviously, you guys chose business and investing, and particular in real estate, and I think all of you are in some form of multifamily, right? So which is an asset class I personally love, but it took me about 30 years to learn how to get here after having done so many other types of investing. So I'm really curious, what got you guys here? Like why real estate, why turn to business, and specifically, why have you chosen this asset class? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first.
Sure.
I just think it's one of the best asset classes to invest in. I think it's one of the easiest, to be honest with you. And really, everyone needs a place to live. So, especially in 2008 when the market crashed, that asset class, multifamily asset class, was the least asset class to take the least amount of hit. So that really drew me to it. And I was reading a bunch of books too after my football career, and the books were just saying everyone's multifamily. It's the easiest one. It's a 1-year leases. You don't have to worry about doing these big 5-year leases with retail and office space. So that really drew me to it. And then I met my partner, Anthony Scandriato. He's actually on this right now, but I met him through a mutual teammate, and he was doing small multifamily units on the side. And I asked him, maybe next deal we can do together. And we ended up, doing a great deal out in Chester, New Jersey. So that was my first experience in multifamily. And we actually killed it on that deal. We'll talk about that later, but we did really well on that deal. And I think it's one of the easiest asset classes to add value, to force depreciation. And that's the most important thing is add value as quickly as you can. And it's called to force that appreciation by lowering your expenses and increasing your revenue. So we go in there, we make minimal capital improvements, and then we increase the rents to market. We always buy places that are below below value, and then we go in there and increase the rents, and raise the NOI. It's all very important to increase that net operating income. And once you do that, you increase the value of your property. So when all those aspects came together, it's just a no-brainer for me to invest in multifamily, because like I said, everyone needs a place to live in, and when those A-class properties are super expensive with all the amenities, and they can't afford those, or there's a downturn in the market, and they lose some income, they have to live somewhere, so they move down to the B and C class properties. So Anthony, my partner, and I, we focus on B and C class properties.
Gotcha. So I think, Brian, you played professionally football for about 7 years, if I remember, and then I think you took a few years off, right, before you started in the business with Anthony. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am taking like 3 years off. I was a stay-at-home dad for 2 years. Probably the hardest job I ever had, harder than football, harder than real estate. I give all those stay-at-home mom and dads a lot of credit, but yeah, I did that for 2 years, and that was awesome. I built a bond with my son, but there was something missing. I needed to set more goals and achieve something greater than what I was doing. So in business, and just like I said, I started reading a bunch of books about real estate, and I was super attracted by it and the benefits of real estate. You can force appreciation, you got cash flow on your properties, you got the appreciations, you got great tax benefits, and you got principal reduction, someone else paying down your debt. So it was once I read all those books and met my partner Anthony, it was a no-brainer, and we grew from 10 units all the way to now we're at 250 units. So we grew pretty quickly in the last little over a year and a half.
Wow. Okay, so you took some time off, read a bunch of books, and decided on real estate, in particular multifamily, because, as you said, it's easy to understand, and also sounds like you like to get your hands dirty to help create value by appreciation. Is that correct?
Absolutely. From day one, we go in there and we try to change that perception of the building by doing exterior innovations and common space area innovations, whether it's hallways, whether it's a shared space, to when the next person walks up there, they think, oh, this is a great place to live. And they're going to pay market rent for that. And then as the units turn, then we'll go in there and renovate the units as the units turn. But that's how we add value quickly.
Great. Maybe Logan, I know you've got a number of companies.
Yeah. So, my journey into real estate is quite interesting. When I was cut from the Oakland Raiders, I went back to Warrensburg, Missouri, which is pretty close to Kansas City, and was finishing my master's program. And, I had an hour drive to and from work every day. And I used that time to educate myself not only on real estate, but personal and professional development as well. And, I had this idea when I was going to move to Kansas City, which is close to 8 years ago now, that I was going to buy a property instead of rent. And so I started off small, bought some single family homes and lived in them, renovated them myself, and then moved out 2 years afterwards. So I didn't pay any capital gains tax, and realized that I was making more money in real estate than I was at my salary at the time. And so I continued to do that, and met my wife, and kind of, started to take some more, I guess, what I'll call involved jobs, and stopped my real estate investing. But 3 years ago, I was forcefully exited from my job, meaning I was fired from my job. And I really wanted to take control of kind of what I'll call my trajectory. And so, I have a very supportive wife, and she started my company, which is now Live Free Investments. And I took a job as a head of acquisitions at the same time for about a $50 million fund here in Kansas City. And, in less than 10 months, I did over 120 transactions for those guys. And I learned a lot. And this was all on the single family side still. And then 10 months, into that, I, sat down with those sponsors of that fund, and they mentioned a word I had not heard before, and that was syndication. And so I started a large, what I'll call, big, high scale education for myself, flying around the country, going to people's events, hiring coaches and mentors. And then I just took action in Kansas City. I started buying properties myself. I started with some commercial mixed use assets, some multifamily properties, and I started raising capital. And, we'll be close to about 1,000 units in the next 2 or 3 months here in Kansas City. And we've got about 5,000 units across 7 states now. So,
Wow.
it's been an interesting and fast journey for me. But I got started with single family homes, learned the principles of real estate from doing and, completing transactions, and then just started to stair step my way up and continue to find partners that had a lot more experience than I did. But, they probably needed me just as much as I needed them to kind of complete and continue to scale up. So that's kind of how I got into the real estate game.
And what specifically about this asset class and did you consider other assets or other businesses to invest in?
Yeah, I own 2 hotels and 4 shopping centers and 5 mixed-use buildings in Kansas City as well. So I've definitely tried out a lot of different in an office building or 2. So I've tried some different asset classes out. I think for me, it was really important to think about macroeconomic trends and where what I'll call the market was for real estate. And I had some good coaches and some good mentors. And while we got all those other projects done, it was really important for me to know that there's an educational wave on multifamily real estate. So more people are familiar with it, more people understand it. There's more education around it, just like this podcast. And so I started to focus on multifamily and making those right connections in Kansas City. And I love the asset class, like Brian mentioned, right? Everybody needs a place to live. When you get into shopping centers, or hospitality, obviously we're feeling the squeeze on those projects right now. But our multifamily is really recession resistant. And, Brian mentioned, multifamily, staying really, really strong during recessions and downturns. Self-storage does as well. And so we focused on some self-storage and multifamily now. But I love the asset class because you can force that appreciation through operational efficiencies or cosmetic upgrades. So, and the investor sentiment is, very strong on that asset class as well.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you. All right, Willie. Will.
Yeah. So I got my start or my journey into real estate when I was still a player. Somebody gifted me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, it makes a lot of sense to have your assets paying for your liabilities. So, and then furthermore, I knew I wasn't going to be a 15-year guy in the league. I mean, every year, man, I had to, fight and claw to make the team, so I knew I was going to play a long career. So I was always like thinking about, hey, what am I going to do when I'm done? And I said, well, shoot, real estate makes a lot of sense. And I was familiar with it. Just like you said, everybody needs a place to stay. And that was my thought process. Well, if I buy a building, I'm pretty sure somebody's going to occupy it. There's housing needed. So I got started with duplexes and townhomes. I purchased in my local market, Greenville, North Carolina. I went to school in East Carolina, so I was familiar with it. And I got going that way. I was buying some foreclosures, and it was a great ride when I was doing it. And then, when I finished up, I was like, well, shucks, man, what am I going to do next? And that's when I said, well, shucks, I really understand this business. So I became a realtor, and I did a residential side initially. And then 3 years in, I switched over to the commercial side of the business. So, now I'm doing brokerage sales, and at the same time working on putting together my first syndication, and I'm focusing here in North Carolina. So my colleagues here are a little ahead of me, but I'm coming for you.
All right. I think one of my daughters is here. I force fed them Rich Dad Poor Dad when all 3 of my daughters before they turned 12, and I think it does sink in. So it's I think it's a start of many of us here, right?
My daughter is 17 months old, and I bought the kid version of Rich Dad Poor Dad. So there's a comic book. Of course there is. Those guys sell everything, and it's never too early, right?
Right.
She's reading already at 17 months, right, Logan?
Oh yeah, she reads to me at bedtime, not the other way around.
That's great. So, amazing stories. Your teammates, I'm curious, your teammates that also retire, are they all coming into business? Are there a lot of folks getting into real estate? Is this a thing, or are you guys special?
Now, what
Or
I,
both.
I would say, some of the guys that I've spoke to, some of them get into real estate, but the majority of the people I talk to is just something that, is foreign to them. They haven't took the time to really learn it, so they go do something else. And a lot of times, that's why you see that statistic of people going broke because they just don't find something that makes sense for them, and they invest in every opportunity that come their way, and they end up losing their pants. So that's part of my reason why I started my podcast, Generational Wealth Through Commercial Real Estate, because I wanted to just put content out there that would educate people on what it means to invest in real estate, and bring on a lot of guests. I brought on Logan on the show. He shared a ton of value on the show, and that's one of the reasons why I did it, because I feel like there's not enough education in the NFL that teach people how to go out and invest their money. That's my thought. I mean, what do you guys think?
And I agree, and I think NFL players they're tagged with a certain label. They're NFL players, and they're just jocks. They're not very smart, and sometimes some of the players buy into that. So I think it's hard because you do have that tag on you, and it's hard to get that label off your back. It's very hard to get that label off your back, and it's not easy sometimes.
Brian, what label are you referring to? Can you be specific?
Well, I don't know. You're a dumb jock, and if you don't know, you stick to football. You kind of have that label on you. So some people, fall into that and believe that, and others, want to educate themselves. And I talk to a class every single year. It's sports management class in Rutgers, and they talk about how 80% of NFL players are broke, and most of them are divorced 2 years after they're done playing football. Why is that? A lot of them aren't financially educated. I know personally, I wasn't financially educated at the time. My parents were just savers, so I was lucky enough my parents were savers. So since they saved money, I saved money until I was able to go out there and educate myself about real estate and venture capital and other things I'm involved in. So I was lucky in the sense that I had role models like my parents that were savers. And but a lot of people in the NFL don't have that, and a lot of people in the NFL grow up with nothing. And when their friends or family do get something, they spend it. So it's kind of that's what they see while they're growing up, and that's what they do in their NFL. I've seen people since they're not financially educated, they make very bad business decisions. There's very smart players out there that just aren't educated in real estate. I know a really good one. I don't think he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name. Was Carson Palmer. He had a $100 million contract, one of the biggest contracts in the NFL, and he wasn't educated in real estate, but his dad brought him into this deal. It was a development deal, and the deal ended up completely falling apart, and he lost $10 million of his signing bonus in his first. I think it was one of his contracts. Yeah, and but he's a very smart guy, and he's very well educated. Just wasn't well educated in real estate, made a bad decision, and lost a lot of money. Thankfully, he's one of the highest paid players in NFL history with all of his contracts combined. And I just seen it time after time where players just aren't financially educated and make huge mistakes. And I've been approached a bunch of times to make really bad business decisions, and I thankfully I didn't make them. I made a couple small ones, which didn't really hurt me. But I had one guy come up to me and want to start a helicopter company in my little small town in Gouverneur of 5,000 people, and it's a low income area, and there's probably maybe 100 people that can afford a helicopter tour. So that would have been a terrible investment. And This guy was dead serious about it and really tried to get me to invest in a helicopter for a small town that doesn't have it, and then no one's going to take a helicopter ride. So it's all about, educating yourself. And now if there's more resources in the NFL to help players educate themselves financially, that'd be awesome. They're getting better, but they're not where they need to be completely.
Great. That's good content. Thank you. Logan, do you mind sharing?
I think I would probably piggyback on Will and Brian's sentiment. And one thing I'd like to share is, the notion that getting access. So I'll call access because I still have a lot of friends either playing in the NFL, but I've also started to make friends in the NBA and the MLB. And I'm starting to see themes, and a few themes that I've been seeing is that, you cannot just penetrate what I'll call the posse of a professional or a professional athlete. And what I mean by that is the really high paid ones, like Brian mentioned, Carson, if you're not in that inner circle, you're probably not going to get in. And that's probably okay. But at the same time, a lot of those inner circles are not privy to really good investments, right? They're a service provider that they might be looking to promote their own product, which, it might not be the right investment for a professional athlete. And so, we've got probably 5 or 6 professional athlete investors now in our group. And I've been talking to them about maybe even an educational module or even a training program that is sort of geared towards these folks. So that's one theme, because I don't think that they're getting the same. Because if you think of a highly affluent investor, they either are a part of a family office, a part of Tiger 21, they're a part of, some sort of group that is bringing them, highly vetted, good opportunities. And so the second theme that I would say is that the ones that I have seen successful have self-educated. It's been somebody has handed them a book. Somebody said, hey, you need to get into real estate, or you need to think about your finances and take control of it. And, I've got this probably 3 or 4 times now, just this year, where somebody has said, and I've asked them, how did you get involved? And what was your journey like? And they said, well, honestly, I started listening to podcasts. I started to educate myself. And so I do think there's a big need in the marketplace for professional athletes to, get access to good opportunities, but also be educated. And that's something that we're definitely excited about and thinking about kind of building out for folks, because, I hate to see that statistic. Like Brian mentioned, most folks don't have any money after what was it? I don't know, a couple years after playing, but also a divorce after 2 years of playing. I mean, that's a life record, and it can be, at least. And so we're talking about people's livelihoods, and one last thing. I know I didn't play in the league very long, if at all, really. But, these athletes, yes, there's, I'm a Chiefs fan because I'm here in Kansas City. And so, Patrick Mahomes just signed, what was that, a $450 million contract? And it's like, okay, Patrick, who's advising you to make the right decisions, right? And it's really important to know that these guys, though, most of them aren't getting those types of contracts. Most of the players in the NFL are role players, and yes, they're making what looks to be a really great salary, but they're traveling, they're training, they're working hard, they're putting their bodies on the line. And that's not something that really, I think, gets talked about much, that, a lot of people miss in the industry too, is the physical and mental rigor that a lot of these athletes go through just to keep their name on the roster, right? And they don't necessarily have the brain space or the mental stamina to then try to go evaluate an investment opportunity. And so having somebody that's in that inner circle is really, really important. But also the sooner that you can get people self-educated, I think the better, in my opinion, because that's where I've seen the successful professional athletes, the ones that picked up a book themselves, started listening to podcasts, and then making connections.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised by that number that Brian mentioned, because, again, not being an athlete, but just seeing how you guys operate. I mean, I've had a chance to look at some deals with Brian and his partner Anthony, but I've seen how Logan and you and Will hustle, certainly from a distance. So I'm quite surprised by that number. Maybe we just focus on you guys. You guys have it together, right? So how do you guys think about business and specifically investing? Are there any principles or strategies that you follow in general, but specifically, if anything, that you carry over from your sports days?
Yeah, well,
that you might be able to share with your future retirees, and other athletes.
Right. Well, yeah, for me, man, I feel like one thing that you could take from when you play sports to, you know, whatever career it is you choose to go into, but most people that's watching this going to be real estate, is, you know, consistency. You know, every day, you know, you got up and you had your mindset right that you was going to go out there and you was going to find a way to get better. And you was going to give it everything you had because you had to. That was the only way you was going to make it there, right? And you know, as you get into your real estate career, it's the same thought process. You know, if I need to learn what it means to evaluate a deal, what is the cap rate, what is the, you know, the NOI, what are expenses, you know, what should they be? How do I know if I'm overpaying or not overpaying? Looking at all those things and just putting the time in and day out until you learn it, is key. You know, that's very key to your success. And, you know, part of my investment philosophy is, you know, does it cash flow? You know, that's cash flow is king at the end of the day. You know, like I said, I think a lot of what I've learned and part of my foundation, just what I learned from that purple book, man, is, you know, you need to have assets that cash flow so they can pay for your lifestyle, whatever lifestyle it is you want to live. You know, that should be your goal, your focus to buy properties that cash flow. If it doesn't cash flow day one, then you probably shouldn't do a deal. You know, that would be my biggest tip for an investor.
Okay.
I would say, yeah, some of the things that football has taught me is to dream big. You know, a guy from a small town upstate New York, no one's ever played Division I football out of my entire section, let alone make it to the NFL. So NFL has really, it taught me to dream big, and not only in football, but in real estate too. Instead of doing duplexes and fourplexes, you know, why not go out and syndicate a deal and do a 58 unit property or 100 unit property, even 200 unit property? You know, you got to think big, you got to dream big. And another thing is set goals. I mean, you got to set goals to make it to the top in anything you do, small goals and large goals. You know, you have that goal at the top, you know, you want 1,000 units, but how do you get there? So you got to set goals along the way. Just like I did in the NFL, you know, get my 40 time up to this, get my bench press up to this, you know, and in real estate, learn this thing about real estate, learn that thing about real estate, you know, and you know, get to my ultimate goal of, you know, whatever that may be. And then another one is sacrifice. You have to sacrifice and in football to be great. You got to sacrifice time with your friends, your family, you know, everything, you know, to be great at anything, to be the top level at anything you do, whether it's in business or in sports, you're going to have to sacrifice. And, you know, I'm doing it right now with real estate with my family. Really, me and Anthony are a growing company. It's just us two. We're getting our systems in place, and we're always trying to better our system. So it takes, you know, more of a workload off us, where we can focus on finding investors and sourcing deals. But it's time consuming with just the two of us right now. When we manage all of our properties, we manage our entire portfolio, about 30 million assets under management. And like I said, 250 units. And it takes time. And I try to have that work-life balance, but sacrifice is very important. And obviously in football, you got to work hard. You got to work your butt off. You got to learn. Football, you got to work your butt off. Real estate, same type of deal. You're not physically working, but you're mentally working. You know, this is the biggest mental workout I've ever had in my entire life with real estate. You know, going out in the field and obviously you got to be smart to play the game of football, but it's a lot to do with, you know, physicality and speed and natural gifted abilities physically. But it's been, you know, the mental workout is up there with real estate. And I think the last one would be, you know, probably most important and for football and for business is mental toughness, getting your mind right. You know, if you're thinking positive things are going to happen, and you're educating yourself, good things are going to happen. So getting that mindset right, I think is key to being successful in anything you do. I mean, you're going to have to push past those days that you don't want to wake up in the morning. In NFL, some days you don't want to get up and work out, and some days you don't want to be physical. Some days you don't want to put pads on and go hit somebody. But to have that mental toughness to get through those tough days is important. And the same thing in real estate. Some days you don't want to you know, do a 5-year financial model, or you don't want to call up 5 or 6 tenants and tell them their rent's going up $200 or whatever it may be. You know, it's sometimes a tough thing to do. But you know, if you want to grow a business, or if you want to be great at anything, you know, mental toughness is one of the most important things to do, in my opinion.
Great. Thanks for that. Yeah.
You know, I'll add a few things. So, you know, when I first got started, I tried to do it all. I sourced the deal. I was the general contractor. I was the leasing agent. I was the broker. I was everything. And what I learned on those first 2 or 3 projects that I did was that it wasn't very fun operating out of what I call my sweet spot. And so after I got those deals done, I kind of stepped back and I said, okay, let me list out all the functions that there are in a successful real estate transaction. And I did that. And there's about 4 or 5 functions that needed to happen for a deal to really be successful. And then I said, okay, well, out of those 4 or 5 things, what did I really enjoy doing and what was I really good at? And in that intersection of what was my greatest strength and my greatest passion interlies your sweet spot. And so that was the day that I said, okay, well, it's time for me to solve for all of my deficiencies and my weaknesses. And there's there's 2 schools of thoughts on if you should, increase your weaknesses and make them better, or focus on your strengths. So I'm in the school of thought that I'm going to focus on my strengths because that's where I can get into flow, just like in football, right? I'm going to focus on my strengths so I can get into flow and I can operate at my highest level, my optimal level. And so I started to find either partners or vendors that almost felt like partners that aligned with my values, and we were vested in each other's success. And so that's when we went out and bought a property management company and a construction company. And we decided to focus on the asset management and the acquisitions because those are the 2 pieces that really make or break a deal. Some say that you make your money on a deal whenever you buy. That's, maybe not. I don't know. But I can tell you what, if you don't manage your asset very well, like Brian's talking about, then you can have the best deal with the worst asset managers and wrong decisions be made. And that best deal is going to turn into a turd really quickly. And so it's really important to know what your sweet spot is, what your strengths are. So I took the Strength Finders test. I took the Builder's profile. I realized what my talents were, if cultivated, could be my strengths. And then I correlated that to the real estate world. And then I went out and found partners that had experience, had the track record and the knowledge that I did not, to make sure that I didn't make bad decisions. And I started to focus on what I was really good at. And that's when I started to see a lot of scale. And so I think it's really important to understand that the multifamily and commercial syndication or just investing world is very collaborative, right? Anthony and I were Brian's partner, connected off of LinkedIn, and, we were on each other's podcasts, and now I'm, sitting here. And so, I need to reschedule with Anthony. I just had a baby and had a mix up on Monday. So I had to cancel. Sorry, Anthony, if you're listening, we'll get you rescheduled. But it's really important to know that there are partners out there that, can solve your problem, and it's up to you to get creative to structure something that works for both of you so you can also elevate each other. And so, I think that's really important to know. And if you try to do everything, you're probably going to get one deal, or maybe, 2 deals a year if you're going to do every single function, and you're going to get burnt out really, really quickly, right? This is a long-term game. Real estate is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-rich-slow scheme over time. And so we're building wealth here, and it's really important to know that and to make decisions based on long-term outcomes, not short-term gains. And so I think that's what I would add. A few lines that some of my coaches kind of ingrained in me were, be quick, but don't hurry, and be patient with results, but impatient with actions. And it's really important.
I love that.
And I might have stole that from James Clear, the writer, but I remember my coaches saying something along those lines all the time. And I think that's pretty applicable to the real estate world.
Great advice here. What about focus? I would imagine in football, you guys were, 200% while you're playing. Is real estate all you do right now, and or do you have other businesses currently?
Well, I can jump in there. So I saw Brian click the unmute, but I beat you, Brian. I got you. You got beat by an offensive lineman, man. I could say that to Will. He's probably faster than me, anyways. But I had a business while I was the head of acquisitions for that fund. I had a consulting business. 6 months in, my wife's top talent is strategic. And she took me on a walk and she said, hey, it's been incredible what you've been doing on the real estate side and the consulting side, but all you do is complain about the consulting and all you do is talk about real estate. Why don't you focus on one of them? And that was the light bulb moment that I needed to say 110% all in on real estate. And so I'm full-time. I'm also a broker here in Kansas City. So I help a lot of folks buy real estate here in Kansas City, but I'm 100% focused on real estate, and the businesses that we do own are ancillary businesses that fuel our real estate. Once you get to a certain point, you can start to bolt on maybe a property management company. I know Brian and Anthony, they manage their own properties, right? So maybe you can bolt on a property management company. We have unit turns happening all the time. So maybe we can control the paint, the flooring, the appliances, things like that we can buy in bulk. So the businesses that we do own, we own an HVAC company. That's just ancillary businesses that fuel the real estate, and that's where we're focused at right now.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, like Logan said, I mean, property management can be a entire job of itself and take up all your time. So until you find the right systems to put in place, but that's right now I'm focused completely on real estate. I do a little bit of venture capital here and there, but I don't do that. I just invest in different venture capital firms. So, but my main focus is on real estate and property management. I focus on the property management side of things, and my partner Anthony, he focuses on acquisitions and finding deals, and then putting a five-year financial model together. And Sam, you see some of those models he put together. Does a very good job. And those models could take me somewhere a half hour, 45 minutes to do. He can put a 5-year financial model together with a 100-unit property in literally 10 minutes. He's very good, very quick at it. So we have our roles, and we know who's good at what. So he focused on that side, and I focused on the property management side of things. And I'm eventually going to move over to what he's doing, but as we get better systems in place for our property management, and we're in that process right now with I was doing the accounting. Now we have someone else doing our accounting. We're looking for someone right now. We actually had a couple phone calls to hire someone to bring on as to take over basically our Buildium software management system. And that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So, basically what Logan was saying, I really agree with having, businesses that line up with what you're already doing. If you look at the average millionaire, they have about 10 streams of income, and the ones that are really scaling at it, all of those businesses kind of feed into each other. So, with that being said, I'm doing real estate on the brokerage side. I have Honest Capital Investments where we're looking to do our first acquisition. So we're partnering with passive investors on that. And I also, as a broker side, what I figured out was, man, I should just start doing property management as well, because I'm already, working with investors. And as we close these deals, I will just manage them for them. So, at the end of September, I have about 50 doors under management here in Greenville. So that's where I'm at right now. And, as I continue to scale, I know I'm going to just continue adding business because, I just strongly believe in scaling that way.
Okay, interesting. So all three of you are not only investing, but you're really vertically integrated, but focus on multifamily. What are your goals for this year, for the next 2 years in terms of number of doors under management or acquired?
Yeah, well, let me go first because I know these guys' goals might be way crazier than mine. So I'll say mine first. So I would say in the next 6 to 9 months, my goal is to syndicate my first deal here in North Carolina. Somewhere between 70 to 100 units. That's the first goal. And then as far as property management, I want to scale that to 100 doors within the same time frame. So that's kind of where I'm at as that. And then, transaction wise as a broker, my goal is to do 10 million in sales minimum. So that's my goals.
Great.
Yeah, we want to try to double our portfolio every year. So we started at 50 units our first year, then 100 units, now 200. Keep doubling it until we're at a spot where we're happy. We're comfortable, and we don't want to grow anymore because we don't want to have I didn't get into real estate to work 9 to 5, 7 days a week. I got into real estate to have freedom and flexibility. And obviously when you're building a company, you can't have freedom and flexibility. You got to, bunker down and work your butt off for 3, 4, 5 years. And then as you put your systems in place, you grow bigger, you got more cash flow coming in where you can pay other people to do some of them roles that you're doing at that time. Then that's when the freedom and flexibility will come in. And I feel like the bigger property we buy, the easier it is for us because we have more cash flow coming off that property. So we're able to hire give a super a salary where he can take care of it, oversee the property, and then we just kind of handle the management side of it. When you're doing those smaller deals, 2-4 unit deals, obviously you don't have enough cash flow to have a super on site. You might be able to give someone a discount in rent where they can alert you if there's anything wrong with the property, but they're not going to go and do maintenance and fix clogged sinks. And you might if you find a good one, but most likely they're not going to do that for a couple $100 off their rent. So I think the bigger you get, sometimes the easier it can be. And same thing with acquiring a deal, acquiring a 5-unit deal compared to a 100-unit deal is the same amount of work and time. So it's just the bigger I feel like is the better for us, for my company.
Okay.
Yeah, we utilize Gino Wickman's book called Traction, and that book really helps to set 10-year goals, 5-year goals, 3-year goals, 1-year goals, and then break that down into quarterly goals and then rocks that you're trying to hit every single month. And I'm a broker here as well, so I have some goals on the brokerage side of things, which is I did about 45 million in sales last year. I'm trying to get up to 50 million in sales this year, but me not being involved in those transactions. So I'm trying to scale that, because the 5 commandments of business are control, entry, need, time, and scale. And the brokerage business can really sap a lot of your time. And so I've been building out a team that helps me with all of the transactions and really just playing a matchmaker on those. In relation to the acquisitions, we're close. I guess we're right at around 620 units right now, just in Kansas City. Our goal is 1,000 units in Kansas City by the end of the year. And I'm happy to say we're under contract for 450 right now. So I do think that will happen this year. And so that was our big goal, was to hit 1,000 doors this year in Kansas City. But our 10-year goal is $1 billion of assets under management, which is a big goal. And there's only a few folks out there that I know that have that. Spencer Gray with Gray Capital is pretty close. Joe Fairless is pretty close. But at the same time, I don't know how those guys are structuring those deals. Our goal is, we're the key principals on all of our deals. So we don't go into other people's projects and it's just us 3 as the key principals. And I think that's a really important, factor of control for us. So that's kind of our goals and where we're headed, and excited to take on the new challenges and roadblocks every day, because this business is a lot like football, and in the sense of you never know what's going to get thrown at you on a regular basis. So you got to stay agile and be able to pivot really quickly, right? Nobody thought we were going to have a health crisis this year, and we do. And so, and we have to pivot because of that. So I hope that answers your question.
Yep. Logan, what year are you at now? So I had a 10-year goal.
We're in year 3. Yep.
Okay.
So we're in year 3 of that 10-year goal, and right about 100 million of assets under management.
Amazing.
That's not
all right.
That's not just in multifamily though. Like I mentioned, we have those.
Sure. Understood. Okay. I'm going to come back to the book a little bit. So again, the title of the book is The 10 Commandments of Investing. Just like the Bible's 10 Commandments, commandments are guiding principles for life, how to live life, for at least for a Christian. The 10 Commandments of Investing, we're finding from reading and learning from famous investors, is really guiding principles of how to invest. So it things we actually haven't shared this publicly yet, but it's things like know and be true to thyself. Know what you like to do. Chase your passions, things of that nature. The 10th commandment is the one that I want to pick you guys a bit more, and we call it mind your mind. What we're finding is, myself included, is it's actually very easy to understand the principles. Just like, if you read the 10 Commandments of the Bible, thou shalt not kill, it's actually very easy to understand what the Bible is saying, but the actual mental discipline that you guys have mentioned of following through on the investment principles is quite hard. And that's what we keep hearing over and over again from Ray Dalio, from Charlie Munger, from Warren Buffett. So I just want to spend a bit more time on that, right? I know in the NBA, for example, some of the coaches go into Zen meditation to train the mind, and they've got these things that athletes are privy to, right? Can you, and I know, Mr. Dalio does meditation every day, twice a day, as do a number of some of the venture capitalists that we talk to really keep their mind sharp and focus on how they do the business and how they invest. Maybe share a bit more about your experiences there, how and you guys all talked about it. I really want to learn more how athletes do it.
Well, I guess it's different for every person. For me, I'm a Christian, so prayer was the first thing for me to help me get my mindset right. So that was the first thing. And then affirmations, affirmations while I was playing sports, just saying I'm going to be the best. And I do it now, affirmations every day, man, of what I'm trying to get accomplished and speaking present tense of what I want to happen. So I do that, and I feel that helps me. I scribe, so I got a journal, and every day I'm writing in it what I'm trying to achieve. The first thing I write is, one thing that made me happy the last 24 hours, 2 things I'm grateful for. Then I write down 5 goals I'm working towards. And after that, I have my affirmations. I write them out, and then I have an income goal under that, and I write it out 10 times. So I do that every day, and
Wow.
that's part of my routine. And then it just kind of helps me get my mindset ready for the day. And that's my routine, man, how I go about it.
So will you do that every day when you get up in the morning and you spend time? Yeah. Wow. Great practice. Yeah. How about you, Brian? You talked about this quite a bit earlier, but just.
Yeah. I think in general, athletes to make it to the highest level had to be mentally tough. And I feel like most of us have some type of OCD. One of my OCDs growing up was before I went to bed, I had to do 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and 100 leg raises. And I held a soft little football like this throughout the night. And if I woke up and that football wasn't high and tight, and it was a fumble to me when I woke up in the morning. So to get to the highest level of any job or sport, obviously you need extreme mental toughness, and I think add a little bit of OCD on top of that. And it's not easy to make it to the highest level in anything you do. And some of the things that I do to calm my mind, to relax my mind, is every morning I have this app is called Calm. I just pop my headphones in. I learned how to meditate through that, and 10 minutes in the morning every single day, just try to relax my mind. And that's literally the only 10 minutes in the entire day that my mind is completely clear. Other than that, it's just always thinking about the kids, the job, the tenants. I gotta do this, gotta do that. So that 10 minutes in the morning is very important to me, to just start the day off calm, relaxed, and ready to start the day in a good mood.
How long have you been doing that, Brian?
I started about 2 years ago, and It all started because after football, everyone knew me as a football player, and that was my identity, and I had to change that identity and find new goals, and my mindset was not right, and I had that identity as a football player, and I knew I had to switch that over to something new, and it wasn't an easy transition, and it's not an easy transition for a lot of these NFL guys, and that's why the go home broke rate is so high, 80%, 2 years after I'm playing, is because think about your entire life. All you do is think about football, dream about football, try to make it to the NFL, and that's all your entire focus is. And you don't get the job experience, you don't get the internships that a lot of these other college students get. Your main focus is football, and that's what most football players, that's all they care about if they're going to make it to the highest level. So to all of a sudden at 30 years old say, hey, listen, you're done. You're not going to make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year anymore. You're going to start back at making 40,000, 50,000. Now you're starting back at the bottom. And now if you're smart with your money and you saved your money, and then you financially educate yourself after your playing career, you're set up in a great position to be super successful in life. Unfortunately, that's not the case for 80% of us, but 20% that do save and do get financially educated, whether it's during the time they're playing or after they're playing, there's nothing better. You're pretty much set up for life.
Great. And so you're consistent last 2 years, every day doing the meditation as well.
Pretty much.
I've
missed a couple of days here and there, whatever. The kids wake up
Yeah.
early and they don't give me a chance to go down and sit outside and meditate. Then I miss a day or two, but it really makes my day better. It changes my day. Starting off the day with a clear mind, a calm mind. There's nothing better than that, rather than the opposite of waking up. All right, what do I got to do today? Look at my phone, look at my schedule and see all the things you got to do. And then all of a sudden your mindset starts off terrible, and then that can turn out to be a bad day rather than starting off nice and calm and relaxed.
Sure.
I could talk about this for an hour, and I've done that at lengths on a lot of people's podcasts, and I would share some similar thoughts around starting your day off right. A couple books that have helped me along the way, Jocko Willink's book, Discipline or Extreme Ownership. I've adopted the discipline equals freedom mentality into my routine. So for 7 years now, I have been getting up between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. And yes, I do have 2 kids under 2, so I'm still doing that. I haven't really, dropped off that, but if you can't see the video, obviously I'm a Catholic and a Christian guy, and it's very important to me. And so when I wake up, I start with prayer, and I try to direct myself to live, by one of the principles that I'm reading out of the Bible, one of the commandments, right? And so that's a big start to my day. That takes about 30 minutes for me, my routine to center myself, to pray, to read my scripture, and to get the next thing started, which is my journal. And so I've been using, if you could see my bookshelf over here, I've got probably 15 journals, and I started with Darren Hardy's Living Your Best Year Ever journal. I'm using Brendan Burchard's, high performance planner now, and it's been a really big game changer for me. But people always ask me, what journal should I use? And I say the one that you'll continue to use. Find one that you like that fits your routine. This one takes me 25 to 30 minutes every morning, but as an entrepreneur and a person who has a business to run, I have to set goals for myself. I have to look at my schedule, rearrange it if I need to, and focus on what's going to bring profit into the business that day. So I have my own kind of version of savers. Willie was talking about scribing, so I'm guessing he read the morning miracle at some point. So that's Hal Elrod's book, The Morning Miracle, which is great. There's another one called the 5 a.m. Club as well. But I'm a firm believer that, as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, whatever you are, getting your day started on your terms and not, your children's or somebody else's is very important. So I try to stay off my email until I've got my prayer in, my journal done. And that's, I get up at 4. By 6, my kids are starting to wake up. My wife is kind of getting up. And so I've got 2 hours ahead of everybody else. And I know what's happening. And that is a sacrifice. I've tracked my sleep all year last year, and I was between 6 and 7 hours, and so that's not easy to do on a regular basis. But like Brian mentioned, you have to sacrifice if you're wanting to elevate yourself. So, I think the morning routine is very, very important for me, but staying disciplined, right? And, people talk about motivation. I talk about inspiration, which means in spirit, because if you don't know what your why is, you're going to fall off really quickly. So you have to define what your why is. When you go to bed at night, why are you going to get up at 4 a.m.? Like, what are you working towards? Align yourself with that why. Create one that is so empowering to yourself. Willie talked about affirmations. Yeah, I have mine, mine is a paragraph long. It takes me literally 6 minutes to write every single morning. That's how long it is. But I write it down every single day because that aligns me to my why. And I have 4 anchors: my faith, my family, my fitness, and my future. And so I filter every decision through those 4 anchors throughout the day. And if it's not aligned to that, so be it. I'm sitting on, 420 emails, and a lot of them are calling me needing to be responded to. But if I haven't hit my journal and my prayer in the morning, I have to just let that go. So I've created buckets for myself that is not easy to do. You have to put boundaries on yourself, just like you have to do with other people.
So Logan, same question. How long have you been getting up at 4:30 in the morning? And when you do get up, this is your time to put in the journal and to pray and to think? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's been between 7 and 8 years now, that I've been doing that. And that's when I was, forcefully exited from my short NFL career that I had. So it was really that time, and I was at the NFL Combine. I was 335 pounds. And in 6 months, I had lost 120 pounds. And, Will knows, that weight is, everybody's like, oh, it just falls off. No, it takes discipline, focus, and intentional decisions every single day. So, it's been 7 or 8 years since I've been doing my morning routine, or my version of the morning routine.
Gotcha. So, I'm not sure what the audience thinks, but we're towards the tail end of this research, and increasingly so. And tonight's interviews, I think, really cement this: is that you can succeed in investing in many different things, different strategies, different asset classes, whether it's multifamily, others. But it seems to me the ones that are truly rock stars demonstrate a lot of things that what you guys have talked about: staying focused, putting the time, really controlling your mind. Right. And I'm really pleasantly surprised that the three of you have this habit, and we've had it for years. So whatever your goals that you say, Willie, doing your first syndication, and Brian doubling every single year, and Logan getting to $1 billion, I personally have 100% confidence you guys are going to hit it. Just because of, you're basically demonstrating all the commandments that these older guys that are ahead of us have done already. So I'm really impressed. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
So it's 9 o'clock. I wanted to see if the audience has any questions. We typically just kind of slow it down a little bit around this point of time. We still have some 20 plus here. Do the audience want to ask the guys any questions while we have them? What they think? Maybe the three of you could just mention for the audience now and for later, what to hit your goals. What are you looking for, and how we could potentially look after that, or how we can find you. Just maybe will you start first?
Yeah. Well, for me, to hit my goal, the biggest one on my list is a syndicated deal. And the first part of that was just, the mindset, overcoming the limiting mindset of thinking it was going to be too hard. So start surrounding myself with people that are actually out there, making noise in the industry, connecting myself on LinkedIn with people like Logan. That's every week he's posting stuff that he's doing, and it just constantly motivates me to keep, pushing forward. So,
awesome.
I would say the main thing is, obviously, I'm always looking for passive investors to come in on a deal with me. So just getting to know other people that's looking to passively invest. And then, what was the other part of your question that you had?
How do we find you? I know you've got a podcast, right? You're also on social media.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me up there as Will Smith. I'm in my Chargers uniform, pass blocking. So you can find me there. And I have a podcast called Generational Wealth through Commercial Real Estate. It's on YouTube, and it's on Spotify, iTunes. You can go up there and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to see what we're doing at my company, you can look at the website, onyxcapitalinvestments.com.
Great. And you're in a fantastic market too. So love to see if we can do something with you.
Sen, I have to add something to Will's. If you can't find him, then you can't find anybody, because that man is posting, 6 times an hour. It has to be. He's all over the place.
It's all good stuff, though. It's all good content. Yeah. Okay, Logan, how about you?
Yeah, I think the best place for me you can connect with me is on LinkedIn. I monitor that, daily. I'm not really, my social media team monitors, the Instagram and everything else. But LinkedIn is all me every single day, and all my websites are up there. So LinkedIn, Logan Freeman is the best place to find me. Thank you for that.
And Brian
Yeah, I'd say for us, just go to our website, redknightproperties.com, and that's Knight with a K-N-I-G-H-T. So redknightproperties.com, and we have a bunch of educational stuff on there. You can find links to our LinkedIn, our Instagram, Facebook, all the social media platforms. Anthony, my partner, also has a podcast on there, and he has a lot of guests on there, so it's a very good educational podcast. But just redknightproperties.com, that's where you can find us.
Yeah. Chris had a good question. If you guys have time, maybe just do one more question, then we'll wrap it up. He asked, can you share a turning point in your life or major decision or mentor that really guided you to your success?
I'll be happy to. Brian, you want to go first?
I would just say taking advantage of my opportunities. I don't know if it's just one pip. There's a couple, I can probably come on 5 fingers, the times that the opportunities I had that I took advantage of those opportunities. My first one was, it was a Nike camp. It was a camp they have every year for all high school athletes. And it was a small town, so I wasn't recruited highly. And then I went to this Nike camp. I ran a 4.47 in the 40. They had me in the magazine as the sleeper who emerged. So I was prepared for my opportunity, and I made the best of it. I ended up getting a scholarship the next week from Rutgers, my first scholarship. And then there's another opportunity I had at Rutgers where I was like the 4th running back on the depth chart, and it's a drill called coming out drill, where you come out, you got to make that first down, and just to basically coming out of your own end zone, make that first down and give the punter enough room to punt the ball. But all the other running backs in front of me were going east and west, and Coach Shannon yelled over, "Leonard, can you, more than this, but Leonard, get your butt over here and see if you can go north and south." And I had 1 carry. I ran over a guy named Gary Gibson, and I had it was a 20-yard carry. And Coach Shannon said, "Keep the drive moving." The next 3 plays came to me, and then 1 play to someone else. The next play I scored a touchdown. So I pretty much had almost every single touch on that drive, and I was scoring a touchdown. Ever since then, I was a starting running back at Rutgers University until Ray Rice came in, and then I was a fullback, and then Ray was the starting running back. But I was happy to change my role based on what kind of running back he was, one of the best. And then another opportunity in the NFL was with Cincinnati. And like I said, I was, I think, 3rd on the depth chart, and I've already been traded from the St. Louis Rams. And it was an inter-squad scrimmage, and it was my turn up. I had, it was 1 drive down the field, and I had a bunch of good plays. And after that, the coach came up and said, "You're going to make this team." And I ended up playing another 6 years of NFL football after that. And then business, I'll make it quickly, but business was just educating myself. I always tell my son every night before he goes to bed, knowledge combined with action creates opportunities, and opportunities combined with execution creates health, wealth, and happiness. And I tell my son my son can recite it to me, and you got to be prepared for your opportunities. And my opportunity in business was educating myself before I went out and met with people, just so I knew what I was talking about when I was talking about real estate. And I ended up meeting my business partner, Anthony. I knew what I was talking about, and we ended up teaming up. And it was a great opportunity I took advantage of, and now we're growing quickly. And I think it's just taking advantage of all the opportunities that you have, because they're far and few between. And you just, when you get one, you got to be prepared for it, and you got to take advantage of it.
Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll say if we think about a turning point, as far as opportunities go, growing up, I always had the dream of playing in the NBA. I wanted to be,
Yeah.
but I was only 6'6", and Shaq was 7 foot. But I played the game the way he did. I was dunking on people out there. But my coach, he always my football coach came out to me one day. Well, he wasn't the coach at the time for me. He said, "Look, man, you're 6'6". Right now, you're a point guard in the NBA." And I was playing power forward center. But he said, 6'6", football, you're a D1 athlete. And I brought into what he told me, and I went out there and I bust my tail, and I got a full scholarship to play football at East Carolina University. So that was the first turning point for me, because nobody ever went to a D1 school on a scholarship out of my little 1AA school that I was at. And I was the first person in my family to go to college and get a degree, first male in my family. So that was all huge turning points for my family. And then I'll say the next one would be when I made a switch to offensive line. I came in as a defensive end, D tackle. I played over there, and I thought I was going to be Julius Peppers when I came in. We dream big as players, and I never really got an opportunity. Just whatever reason, it just wasn't clicking for me there. And they tricked me and told me, well, look, man, if you go over on the other side, we'll let you play tight end. You'll catch some touchdowns and be doing end zone dances. So I bought into it, and I believed them. But I quickly found out they had me blocking every play. And it was like, man, dude, you really good at blocking. And then next thing I know, I'm at tackle. And, one thing led to another, and I made it to the NFL. So I would say those were the biggest turning points from an athletic standpoint. And then just from what turned me to real estate was, like I said, Rich Dad Poor Dad. After reading that book, I really understood the power of, investing in things that can produce passive income to pay for your liability. So those were the biggest turning points for me.
Great story. Yeah. Okay, I think there's a question about retirement from Simon. I'm going to just venture to guess the answer for three of you is really, you guys are not going to retire. Because you guys are doing what you like to do. Multifamily is fantastic because it could be fairly passive. It doesn't have to be, as active as a 9-to-5 job. So I would imagine that's probably the same reason why I'm getting into it as well, right? So any plans for retirement, guys? Probably not, right? Not in the short term, at least. Yeah. So
no, you need to set goals. You need to keep your mind growing. You need to keep growing personally. And if you stop growing personally, you stop educating yourself, then that's when all the other bad stuff sets in with, being depression and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like, you just got to keep moving forward and keep educating yourself and keep growing as a person. So if I do ever retire, I'll be doing something else for sure. I'm not going to sit home and drink pina coladas all day.
Great. Hey, I'm going to wrap this up. This has been amazing. I learned a lot. I think the two main takeaways for me, one is you guys are a lot younger than me. I went through, you're obviously a lot smarter. I went through a lot of different assets and different businesses, investing in tech, investing in blockchain, in all kinds of assets, different businesses before and now also have discovered the magic and beauty of multifamily. We don't have time to get into it here. There's a lot more podcasts that you guys do as well that share why multifamily is, particularly workforce multifamily in the States, is a great investment in all economies, right? Which is why we're in it as well. So I'm really happy to learn that young, smarter guys dove right into it and cementing my own confirmation that this is a great space to be. Hopefully the audience here and I will have a chance to work with you guys in the future, whether it's passive or active. That's my first major takeaway is really, hey, I think I'm playing in the right space because you guys are. Two is this mental thing. Again, I knew you guys have discipline, and now I know why. You've had years and years of habits of whether it's journaling for Will or Logan, getting up early, and in your case, Brian, meditation. To me, that has been my biggest weakness is I read so many books, I talk to so many people, but the ability to really do what you guys do to keep that discipline to continue success, I think that's really probably my most valuable takeaway for today. And we'll put that into the book as well. So with that, it's past 9 o'clock. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure and it's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Okay. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you for joining us. Please visit Wizards Institute to access the blog summary of today's session, to learn more about other speakers, and to network with other investment wizards. Wizards Institute, the #1 community to learn smart investing and financial freedom.